What is your horror story from DNA tests like 23andMe? Family lore was that our great-great-grandma came over the Donner Pass in a covered wagon and found love with a native and infused their sparse body hair and tan skin with her Irish Dutch genes. Two cousins from different uncles come back with no trace. Family becomes divided about if there's enough of a sample size of Native Americans within their archives to detect them, and if 23andMe is wiping people's ties to their native heritage in the land, or if our old family tree books are wrong, or if the brothers are related to the rest of us. Woman shrugging, clinking glasses, poop. Edit spelling. Found out doing the ancestry DNA that my paternal grandmother cheated on her husband with her also married family doctor. My dad has brothers and a sister that he never knew about. Dad says that the doctor must have known. He looks exactly like his brothers, and the doc used to always call him son during his appointments. His dad that raised him also must have known, cause he treated him like crap, and made backhanded comments that, knowing what we know now, tell us he knew. Or suspected at the very least. Well, it's not my horror story. But, police arrested the guy who murdered my mother decades ago because someone in the killer's family used one of those tests. The submitted DNA allowed them to get a match on a grandparent. And a couple of years later, when they subpoenaed his DNA to corroborate their other police work, he confessed. It took 40 years, but I imagine this is a hell of a horror story for him. He wasn't ever a suspect before the DNA match. My grandfather did not die when my dad was 4 like we always thought. Instead, he faked his death, walked 1,500 kilometers to the other end of the country, married a 16-year-old girl and had 7 more children. All the while leaving my grandmother to bring up the 6 children he had with her and his 2 children from an earlier marriage. Worst part was that he used the same names for the second batch of kids as his first lot. All my life, I was told my maternal great-grandfather was one true Cherokee. He had blue-black hair, tawny skin, sky-high cheekbones. Even in his 89s his hair was gray, not white. On my father's side, there was a take where one of the sons took an African woman as his wife. My result: 97 Irish, Scotch English, 2.3 Scandinavian. I'm so white, I glow in the dark. The remaining 0.7 was inconclusive. My father is from a country that is literally split in half. Half the country is ethnically Greek and the other half is ethnically Turkish. There is a long history of bad blood and our capital is split down the middle. We are culturally Greek, but thanks to my brother's impulse decision DNA test, we learned that we are ethnically more Turkish. Not really a horror story, but goes to show how stupid war is. One of my great uncles got contacted by a woman who said he was her father, after she took a test through one of those sites. He denied it vehemently, and it caused some strife in the family until it was revealed that it was actually his older brother who was the father. Turns out he was kind of a cat in his youth, and never found out until now. My maiden name is extremely German sounding, but I have not a trace of German blood. I match with people with my maiden name, so my paternity is not in question, but somewhere something is amiss. I have my family tree documented back to the 1500s in Germany, so maybe someone was adopted or illegitimate and it's just not documented. One of my best friends called me one day in a panic. She did one with her father for fun. He is not her father. Turns out Mummy has many skeletons in the closet. Bio Dad never knew she existed and was so happy to find her. We now doubt her sister's father is her father. Just a gigantic domino effect of not good. Someone in my grandparents' generation gave up a baby for adoption 60 years ago and our family still doesn't know, won't admit who it was. She only joined 23andMe because her daughters encouraged her to find out more about her birth family for health reasons. We now have family members who won't take the test. I am from Izmir. I did ancestry DNA test and learned I'm 80% Greek. My whole world has changed. I tried to commit suicide but couldn't do it. Now I have to live like after that I decided is a Zionist game. I suggest people don't do DNA tests, it's lie, because I am 100% Turkish THNX. My mom's generation has been really big into tracing our family tree. Turns out Grandpa had 2 families that we know of. If that wasn't enough to discourage my family from uncovering skeletons, a few years later one of my cousins took a 23andMe test to find out that our grandfather is also her dad. Not really a horror story, but I always thought and was led to believe that my Mdna would be whiter than white and British. Nope, quite a bit of Italian, Mesopotamian and some Central Asian Pakistani. Fuck knows the story behind all that, but my guess is British Empire related. That they take your genetic information and sell it to insurance companies so that they can upcharge you based on pre-existing genetic predispositions towards certain illnesses. Don't use them. If you're not paying for the product, you are the product. Not me, but my coworker found out his bio ad was not who he thought he was. Turns out he is one of the many children of fertility Dr. Donald Klein. There's a Netflix doc about him if you've never heard about him. How do people find siblings and relatives on these sites? I have done Ancestry, but I've never found relatives. I'm also adopted. Just wondering how they're able to connect with half-siblings and things like that. That French women cheat so much that the French government banned all DNA tests because they were afraid of the societal effects of so many dads finding out they were not raising their biological offspring. My cousin trying to scam the government claiming minuscule percentage Native Americans submitted a sample. What did happen was 4 children he fathered with 4 women other than current wives found him. I'm a byproduct of the slave trade. Possibly rape. I look white, but I'm also Native American, Spanish, Portuguese, and Nigerian. I have no way of knowing who those ancestors were. I found out I'm 100 white and only from 3 major countries in Europe. So of course I also found out there was lots of incest not nearly as far back as I was hoping. FYI is a free genealogy website. I've tracked family back to 1400s on more than one line. Can't get very far with the Russian side, though. My sister found out that half our mom's side of the family are products of incest. Up and until a few great aunts and uncles. Someone I know discovered a previously unknown half-sibling. Their father had an affair on a business trip. Finding out they were hacked, revealing ancestry, DNA data, birth dates, locations and profile pictures. I did Ancestry DNA a few years ago. Found out my father sexually assaulted over 50 women. Finding out that they keep your DNA and information forever.